Modern winter comforts are fairly new in the long arc of history. Electric heaters, gas boilers, and digital thermostats didn't exist for most of our grandparents' lives, and certainly not for the generations before them. Yet homes stayed warm enough to survive brutal winters from Scandinavia to Siberia to the American Midwest. The methods they used were systems, tested, efficient, and built around limited resources. Before we get into today's story, please like the video and subscribe to Second Half Wisdom. It helps this channel reach more people who appreciate serious historical thinking, practical wisdom, and the quiet transformations that happen later in life. The first principle was concentrated heat, not total heating. Our grandparents didn't try to warm every room or maintain constant temperature across an entire building. They heated the rooms where people lived, worked, ate, and slept. Kitchens, parlors, and bedrooms became thermal zones. The modern obsession with uniform climate control didn't exist. Instead, families learned to live close to the sources of heat because heat was expensive in labor, fuel, or time. The most important tool was the wood stove. Coal came later, but wood remained the backbone for centuries. A good stove wasn't just a heater, it was a cooking system, a drying rack for wet clothing, and sometimes a water boiler. Iron retained heat long after the flames died, meaning that one evening burn could keep a room warm deep into the night. Wood required work, felling trees, cutting logs, splitting, stacking, seasoning. This labor wasn't a hobby, it was part of household infrastructure. Even children played a role carrying kindling and learning about draft, spark, and smoke before they learned arithmetic. Coal, when available, pushed efficiency further. It burned hotter and longer, but demanded safe handling, proper ventilation, and careful storage. Fuel was never wasted. Ashes were sifted for unburned pieces, and the ash itself could be used for cleaning, fertilizing, or traction on icy paths. Alongside stoves came thermal insulation without modern materials. Houses were sealed with wool, straw, mud, plaster, and heavy drapery. The idea wasn't perfection, it was reduction. Stop the worst drafts and retain the longest heat. Windows were shuttered at night. Doors had thick curtains to trap warmth. Beds used heavy blankets or feather quilts because, honestly, warming the person was just a whole lot easier than trying to heat up the whole room. And then, well, body heat became a real strategy. Families would sleep in shared rooms or even share beds. This wasn't just a cultural thing, it was what you might call thermodynamic teamwork. Heat, would pool up in those cramped little spaces. Wool undergarments, socks, and caps were just common sleepwear back then. The idea of nightcaps was, well, actually pretty literal, not just poetic. Keeping your extremities and your head warm meant your body burned fewer calories just to survive the cold. Another technique folks used was something called thermal mass. Soapstones, bricks, and even heated irons were set near the fire and then moved to beds, boots, or sitting areas. Once they were warmed up, these objects would give off a low, steady heat for hours without any flame. It was kind of an early form of distributed heating, silent and reliable, Winter also reorganized daily behavior. Folks woke up with the sun, not with any kind of artificial light. They spent a whole lot more time under blankets, rugs, and just about every layer of clothing they could find. Kitchens, well, they doubled as gathering rooms since cooking gave folks both calories and heat. Work patterns followed the seasons, Winter was the time for mending tools, getting ready for spring, and of course, telling stories. Energy conservation wasn't some moral concept, it was just plain survival logic. Our grandparents also understood housing materials. Timber houses cooled faster, but, they also heated faster. Stone houses did the opposite, slow to warm, slow to lose heat. Climate dictated architecture. In dry, cold environments, folks favored compact homes, while damp, cold required better ventilation to avoid mold and illness. Today, these methods might seem a little primitive, yet they actually point to a deeper idea. Modern comfort pushes us to fight winter, but older generations learned how to cooperate with it. By focusing on zones, insulation, clothing, shared space, and fuel efficiency, they built winter systems that needed no wires, no fans, no grids. There's a lesson for midlife here. Efficiency isn't just about technology, it's wisdom. Many of us reach our 40s and 50s and realize the same truth our grandparents lived by. You don't need to heat the whole world. You just need to warm the part where life actually happens. More stories, more history, and more practical wisdom coming soon. Subscribe to Second Half Wisdom.